We have Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Ms. Blackburn, thank you so much, as always, for coming on. You know, Senator, I got a whole bunch of things to talk to you about. But is it possible that somebody could stop this guy, Kerry, from going out overseas and making utterly ridiculous assumptions? No coal, no carbon emissions in 10 years or so. No serious person agrees with him. And he's only making the story worse.
You're right. He is making the story worse because the things he's saying are absolutely ridiculous. You're so right on that. And the thing is, when it comes to energy, we know the decisions the Biden administration is making are decisions that are very intentional. The Keystone Pipeline, now going after Line 5. These are things that are driving up the cost of energy, the price at the pump. You look at what people were paying in January, what they're paying today. We were a net exporter of energy in January, and Joe Biden has shut all of this down. And Larry, this Build Back Broke agenda that Joe Biden has, it is breaking the back of our small businesses. It is breaking people financially. It is breaking their spirit when they're talking about achieving their American dream.
You know, Senator, I think Manchin's right. You look at this inflation story, which is probably worse than a whole lot of people thought 6 months ago. I'll acknowledge that, heck. But the fact is, the country does not want massive new spending. And the other fact is the Federal Reserve's still printing way too much money. But this bill should be paused. I mean, I'd like to kill it, ma'am, but the bill should at least be paused.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It should be paused because, as I said, there is an intentionality to this. You've got the social democrats that are led by AOC and Bernie, and they're trying to get their socialist programs on there. They're out here advocating for socialist programs and a takedown of our governmental systems as we know them, and then they want to recreate this in their image with the elitist in control. This is all their plan. It is all a part of their agenda. And the sooner they can run up inflation so that people are begging the government to come do something, the sooner they can make you dependent on government from cradle to grave, daylight to dark, 24/7. And with this Bernie budget, the $3.5 trillion, which is really $5 trillion, they want to take one vote. And in that one vote, they're going to take control of your kids, their education, your health care, your bank account, the job that you can do, how you're going to run your business. This will give them the foundation that they need for total control of your life. And they're very happy with that. That is their goal. And Larry, I know you remember that inflation back in the 70s, late 70s and 80s, the Jimmy Carter days, the malaise. I remember thinking as a young adult, surely we won't see 15% inflation. And of course, we did. And people today are saying, you know, I think that is where Biden is headed right now.
You know, Senator, you remind me of something. You know, this business about government control, which is surely right. Yeah. I mean, this social spending plan, what Newt calls big government socialism, I think he's right. You know, they want government to raise your kids. They want government to educate your kids. And then they want government to assist you while you live the life of Riley and leisure rather than go on to work like a responsible person. It really is. They want government to substitute for families and for parents and for work. That cannot be a good thing.
It isn't. And see, they want to change the way you live, the way you work, the way you control your family, and they want government to be the center of that. Remember that silly cartoon that Obama did called The Life of Julia, where Julia is totally dependent on the government for every different component of her life. And now they've done The Life of Linda, and Linda is totally dependent on the government
Who's
for every
Linda?
component
Who's
of their
Linda?
life.
Who's this Linda
And
person?
we don't know. We don't know. But it's not me. And I told somebody the other day, I said, I feel like we're seeing Atlas Shrugged lived out because of what they're doing to our small business manufacturers, the brokenness of the supply chains. I ran an errand today here in Tennessee, and I had somebody come up to me and said, hey, why are they locking down the ports now? I said, they're not locking down the ports. It is the union issues, the getting the ships unloaded, the supply chain issues where our manufacturers cannot get the supplies that they need. People are looking at the cost of Thanksgiving dinner with the cost of a turkey going up. Cranberries are costing more. Even the aluminum pan to bake that turkey in is going to cost you more. People are seeing inflation affect every single corner of their life
And
every day.
You look at the administration and, from the president on down, various spokespeople, Energy Secretary Granholm and John Kerry and White House staff, they're blaming price gouging. Like gasoline stations are just dying to price gouge, even though it's about the most competitive business in the world. I mean, it's just utter nonsense. Right. Senator Blackburn, let me ask you one more thing. It's too much fun for me not to put this on the table for you. This gal who's being nominated to be the National Bank Controller of the Currency, Omarova is her name, the one who went to Moscow State University on a Lenin scholarship, comes here to the States, doesn't renounce Soviet communism. I mean, if she was a refusenik, that would be different, but she never renounced it. She defended it. And then it turns out she's in some Marxist group on Facebook and on and on. So the latest on this is she wants to, if she were the banking commissioner, starve companies that invest in oil and gas. In other words, deny them credit as, I guess, a climate change strategy. Now, that's got to be one step too far, even for our Democrat friends in the Senate.
We would hope that it would be a step too far. But it shows you how intentional the Biden administration is in pushing this socialist agenda. When you have people who are part of communist groups, and she is a part of that Marxist analysis and policy group, and admits it, she chose to do this, and she doesn't like the banks. And she thinks we ought to have just one bank and it ought to be the federal government. And you've got to look at this and say, why would they choose this type person to come in and have control over these banks and be able to force that agenda? Well, the reason is because if they can force banks out of business, force some mergers, they're going to do it. It is like with inflation. And I loved what you said about art and the CPI and the PPI. You have manufacturers and producers that cannot get product. So yes, the price is going up. So yes, the price at the store is going up. Also, supply chain issues are driving that up. These are people intent on really sucking the air out of our economy and causing businesses to fail, causing banks to fail. That is their goal. What would cause them to not wish the United States of America, our nation, our government, our citizens, to not wish them well?
Right. How can they not put America first? You're exactly right. Anyway, Senator Marsha Blackburn, I could spend an hour with you. You know that. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it very, very much.
Absolutely.
Coming up.